It has been interesting watching the 4 different varieties of kale grow in the no-till trial beds, especially when we probably haven't been giving them enough attention. This was fairly rough ground that was turned into growing beds using 5 different no-till methods, and I wanted to see how successful each of the 5 methods would be in the first year without much additional intervention. I'm impressed how well the kale is growing, for the most part, and we've been harvesting a fair amount all summer, but there are definite differences between the varieties. The Cavallo Nero, or Tuscan type of kale that we planted, has been producing the characteristic long, dark leaves, but there seems to be a fair amount of damage from slugs or snails. There is also a fair amount of variability between the different plants, and some have struggled in the different no-till sections, which I suspect might be partially due to issues with transplanting, but most of the plants are producing reasonably well. The Ragged Jack variety seems stronger earlier in the spring, but a lot of the plants are looking rough at the moment with decaying leaves and more slug or snail damage. I wonder if this variety has been more affected by the drier conditions, or if the bushier habit with lots of side shoots is causing some issues, and perhaps we need to change the way that we are harvesting and managing these plants. There are also 2 varieties of curly kale, and both are significantly larger or taller plants than the others, with a more elongated main stem. The open pollinated variety seems to be a little bit less vigorous, and in some of the sections I think the leaves are gradually getting smaller as the season progresses, almost like the plant is running out of resources. The hybrid variety growing beside it seems to be a bit more vigorous, producing larger plants in general with larger leaves and more to harvest. I would expect the hybrid variety to be more vigorous, or at least more uniform, but I'm surprised it's doing so well in less than ideal conditions. To be fair, some of these varieties are probably more suitable for production later in the season when growing conditions are cooler and with more rain, and we've had a relatively warm summer with a few drier periods when additional watering probably would have really helped. And I think most of the plants would have benefited from additional feeding during the season, especially with something high in nitrogen. But I am reasonably impressed with how well this crop has grown so far in a new growing space with soil that probably still needs more carbon, nutrients, and time for the biology to work to properly develop the soil. And I wonder how much of a difference this would make to the growth and productivity of these 4 different varieties of kale.